There is this idea in education that everyone has their own preferred way of learning, their so-called learning style. If information is presented in accordance with the learning style, well, then they'll learn better. Now, there are dozens of different learning style theories, but the most common one identifies 4 main learning styles: visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic, or VARK for short. Visual learners learn best from images, demonstrations, and pictures.
People may say things, but I can't really take it in. I just gotta see them act it out or write it or something.
Auditory learners learn best from listening to an explanation.
Like in school, I was always engaged in the lecture, and that was usually good enough to pass a test.
Reading, writing learners learn best from reading and writing.
Like I can get pretty much anything out of reading a textbook or something.
And kinesthetic learners learn best by doing, physically interacting with the world.
Hands-on. You have to touch things, you have to play with things. It's a contact sport. You have to do it yourself.
I want to try something with you, a little experiment. I want to show you 10 pictures of things, and I don't want you to say anything while you're looking at them. And at the end of the 10, you tell me how many you can remember.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, learning styles make intuitive sense because we know everyone is different. Some people have better spatial reasoning, others have better listening comprehension. We know some people are better readers, while others are good with their hands.
It sort of very much fits with a broad strain of thought in sort of the recent Western tradition is like, we're all unique, we're all different. And so you don't want to say like everybody learns the same way. That sort of conflicts with our feelings about what it means to be human.
So doesn't it make sense that people should learn better in their own preferred learning style? Well, teachers certainly seem to think so. A survey of nearly 400 teachers from the UK and the Netherlands found that over 90% believed that individuals learn better when they receive information in their preferred learning style.
Just like every professor has a different style of teaching, you have a different style of learning.
But when his teacher starts using visuals, Jonathan finds it easier to focus and understand the material, so he might be a visual learner.
Can you tell me what that means to you? Like, what does it mean to be a visual learner?
To me, it means that for me to learn something, sometimes I need to draw it, or I need to write it down, or I need to see a picture or a movie.
For example, science classes, I get bored easily just listening, and I think it's more interesting for me to actually be able to do it.
How do you know that you're a visual learner?
I don't. I just assume.
To take advantage of learning styles, then teachers need to do 2 things. First, identify the learning style of each of their students. And second, teach each student in accordance with their learning style. On the VARK website, it says, once you know about VARK, its power to explain things will be a revelation. But before you take an online learning styles quiz, it's a good idea to ask, do learning styles even exist? I mean, do you have one? And if you're taught in accordance with it, would you learn better? Well, you could test this by running a randomized control trial, where first you would identify learners with at least 2 different learning styles, say visual and auditory, and then randomly assign the learners to one of 2 educational presentations, one visual, one auditory. So for half of the students, the experience will match their learning style, and for the other half, it won't. And then you give everyone the same test. If the learning style hypothesis is correct, the results should show better performance when the presentation matches the learning style than when they're mismatched. I tried a very unscientific version of this experiment on the street. For some people, I matched their learning style, so I showed visual learners pictures of 10 items. But for other visual learners, I read out the items instead.
Bell, penguin, sun.
Okay, I'm maxed out.
How many can you remember?
I don't know. Hair, knife, duck, heart, butterfly.
Apple, bicycle, guitar.
There's a spider. Did I say I already?
Trumpet, pear, butterfly,
knife,
boat,
heart,
heart.
I couldn't tell you the rest. That's all I got.
Most people could remember only about 5 or 6 things.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
6 is not bad.
All right.
6.
6 out of 10, which is not bad, right?
Oh, all right,
That's
yeah.
a passing score. Candle.
Everyone
forgets the candle.
But a few could remember substantially more, say 8 or 9 items.
Bug, I don't know if I said bug. Guitar, bike, eye, bell, spoon, sun, chair. I'm forgetting the last 2.
That's pretty good.
8 is really good.
Oh, cool.
9?
9 out of 10.
9. Very impressive.
But the reason didn't seem to be because the presentation matched their preferred learning style, but because they employed a memory strategy.
So like as you were showing, I was like making an order in my head. So as I saw more, I would just add it to the list, and I was repeating the list as I was looking at them, so I could just say it out loud.
Did you try a strategy while you were looking at those pictures?
Yeah. So I guess I tried like creating a story because it's easier to remember a story than just individual objects. So I try to like tie it all into one story.
This is obviously anecdotal evidence, but rigorous studies like the one I outlined have been conducted. For example, one looked at visualizers versus verbalizers instead of visual versus auditory learners. The study was computer-based. So first, students' learning styles were assessed using questions like, would you rather read a paragraph or see a diagram describing an atom? The researchers also provided some challenging explanations with 2 buttons, visual help or verbal help. The visual one played a short animation, whereas the verbal help gave a written explanation. From these measures combined, the researchers categorized the students as either visualizers or verbalizers, and then the students were randomly assigned to go through a text-based or picture-based lesson on electronics. When a student hovered their mouse over keywords in the lesson, in the text-based group, a definition and clarification came up, but in the picture group, an annotated diagram was shown instead. And after the lesson, the students did a test to assess their learning. The students whose preferred learning style matched their instruction performed no better on the tests than those whose instruction was mismatched. The researchers ran the test again with 61 non-college educated adults and found exactly the same result. But learning styles are a preference. So how strongly do learners stick to their preference? Well, in a 2018 study, during the first week of semester, over 400 students at a university in Indiana completed the VARC questionnaire, and they were classified according to their learning style. Then at the end of the semester, the same students completed a study strategy questionnaire. So how did they actually study during the term? Well, an overwhelming majority of students used study strategies which were supposedly incompatible with their learning style, and the minority of students who did not perform significantly differently on the assessments in the course. The visual, auditory, reading, writing, kinesthetic, or VARC model came about from Neil Fleming, a school inspector in New Zealand. Describing the origins of VARC, he says, "I was puzzled when I observed excellent teachers who did not reach some learners and poor teachers who did. I decided to try to solve this puzzle. There are, of course, many reasons for what I observed, but one topic that seemed to hold some magic, some explanatory power, was preferred modes of learning, modal preferences. And thus, VARC was born. There was no study that revealed students naturally cluster into 4 distinct groups, just some magic that might explain why some teachers can reach students while others can't.